This news program is proudly brought to you by
Smart Start Breakfast Biscuits
and Now Biscuits.
Kikori MP Soroi Eoe visits inmates at Bomana. Enga PPC calls for arrest of carjacker. NCD Governors Cup tournament to continue into the new year. A very good evening. This is National EMTV News. I'm Godwin Eki. Thank you for joining us. Trukai Industries has recently donated 5,000 kina to the Bougainville Charity Foundation fundraising drive to purchase cancer detection equipment for the Buka General Hospital. Bougainville Charity Foundation has helped the autonomous region in various aspects such as education and health. Receiving the donation was Bougainville Charity Foundation Chairman Romulas Masiu. Trukai Industries CEO Alan Preston said under Trukai's corporate social responsibility program, they are committed to assist Papua New Guineans who need an added support. Minister for Tourism, Arts and Culture, Isi Leonard, presented 50,000 kina to tourism group and churches in Enga province. He presented this during the grand opening of the Limanda Seventh-day Adventist Church on Thursday this week.
Minister Leonard was accompanied by the Executive Director of the National Cultural Commission, Mr. Stephen Kilanda, and the Chief Executive Officer of the Tourism Promoting Authority, Mr. Eric Mossman. The Samarai Murua Open MP openly acknowledged the magnificent scenery of the environment where the newly built church was situated, and in a kind gesture appreciated the work of the local community to promote tourism in this area. In his keynote address, Minister Leonard paid tribute to the work of the Seventh-day Adventist Church in the province, saying the work of the Gospel Commission was everybody's business as Papua New Guinea is a Christian country. Minister Leonard presented a total of 25,000 kina to the local SDA churches comprising the Amala SDA Church, Wabek Town SDA Church, and Lenki SDA Church with 5,000 kina each, while the host church of the Sangurab SDA Church received 10,000 kina. Minister Leonard presented another 25,000 kina to the local Limanda community to support their tourism, arts and cultural project that was recently established in the area. History was created in this part of the province when a state minister set foot along with his two chief executive officers respectively. The Limanda SDA Church is a branch church of the main Sangurab SDA Church located a kilometer away from the provincial capital of Wabek Town. Estagane, National EMTV News.
Enga Provincial Police Commander Chief Inspector George Kakas said his men will act swiftly to effectively and immediately arrest on lawbreakers over the festive period and into the new year. PPC Kakas was responding to calls made by the Medical Superintendent of the Kandep District Hospital, Dr. Robert Imambu, for the police to arrest the main suspect who hijacked the rural hospital's only ambulance, which was later recovered by police.
PPC Kakas said that police quickly acted upon the carjacking after receiving an urgent distress call from the hospital. Kakas said that his fully armed men, upon intelligence reports, followed an old road track into a secluded village that had no escape route. Kakas said the stolen ambulance was well hidden and camouflaged behind a gorge-like landform impossible to sight from a distance. He expressed satisfaction to his men for their courage into enemy territory where the risk of being shot at was inevitable. Kakas pointed out the main suspect escaped on foot into the nearby gorge. He said the suspect is known to police and will be arrested and charged. The stolen ambulance was abandoned near Walipin village outside of Kandep government station by a former employee of mining company. Kakas said the suspect will be dealt with accordingly by the law and imprisoned forthwith as his men are on the ground to effect arrest. Meanwhile, the Enga Provincial Health Authority Acting Chief Executive Officer, Chaplain Elvis, commended PPC Kakas for retrieving the stolen ambulance and fully restoring the operations of the Kandep District Hospital after 2 days of mayhem. Esther Gane, National EMTV News.
More than 30 students from different tertiary institutions took part in the 2022 Enga Youth Empowerment Awareness Project, which ended on a high note in the provincial capital of Wabeg Town. Tertiary students in Enga province initiated this awareness campaign for changing the mindset of how people look at life.
The student coordinator of the project, Kingsford Noah, told EMTV News that the overall project successfully ended with a public awareness campaign in Wabeg Town. A final year University of Papua New Guinea medical student said that the project was divided into 4 separate parts. School visitations and awareness was delivered from the November 26 to 28 that saw them visiting primary and secondary schools in the province. A general cleanup in and around the vicinity of Wabeg Town was done in partnership with the Wabeg District SDA judges, Wabeg Eben local level government, local youth groups and volunteers on the 27th of December 2022. They also did mini awareness sessions around the province from 26 to 28 December. They covered villages surrounding Wabeg Town and Wapenamanda Township. The student leader explained that the project was completed with a major open-air public awareness at Wabeg Town on Thursday. He stressed that the awareness project encompasses the essence of education and health for a brighter future of the province. Esther Gane, National EMTV News.
National EMTV News continues after the break. Stay with us. You're watching National EMTV News. To our top story now, Minister for Provincial and Local Level Government Affairs, Soroi Ewe, and his family paid a courtesy visit to the inmates at the Bomana Correctional Institution today. During his visit, Minister Ewe and his family presented gifts and other necessities, including 4 boxes of cake, to the respective jail blocks.
It's few hours before we transit into the new year, and families and loved ones are gearing up for it. There will be gatherings and festivities. Here at the Bomana prison, the feeling was also festive. Inmates at the minimum security unit joyfully gathered to receive Minister Ewe and his family. In addressing the inmates there, Minister Ewe reminded the inmates about the reason for the season.
Thank you so much this morning. I'm really privileged and honored to be here. Christ came down, or God came down as a man. And of course, our pastor will share that because we're celebrating the birth of Christ. And this is part and parcel of that love that God has shown by sending his son to come down. That's the most important message.
Mora Mai is the Gulf representative in the minimum security unit. He thanked the minister and his family for the timely visit and took the opportunity to forward a request.
We don't have our prison long province Blomipla. There's a handful of us in here, and due to transport and all this, it's very hard. Mipla asked him if you could sit down and talk to them. They could make our own provincial prison, sell province Blomplet, so it would be easy for us. Mipla stop would have our visitors, families and friends who would come and visit us from there.
The visit ended with an encouraging word by Pastor Jack Edwards, and the gifts, including clothes and other necessities, were presented to the inmates. Lindy Suharupa, National EMTV News.
Female inmates at the Bomana prison were privileged by the visit of Soroi Ewe's family today. They took the opportunity to raise a problem that has been of huge concern to them over the years. Member for Kikori and Minister for Provincial and Local Level Government, Soroi Ewe, and his family visited the female wing today. A
short speech by Grace Api captivated everyone's attention. Grace is serving time at the female prison wing. She confidently spoke about an issue that has been faced by the female inmates. Grace's words to her fellow inmates and to the visitors were to reconcile as the new year approaches. Minister Soroy Eowe, his wife and members of his family visited the female inmates today and presented gifts and cake for the inmates to share as they witnessed the new year tonight. Lindy Suharupa, National EMTV News.
President of the Farmers and Settlers Association, Wilson Thompson, in a statement released today, highlighted the 2022 review of the agriculture and rural business in PNG. President Thompson also gave his views on the government's intervention and provided some recommendations to improve on service delivery for farmers in those two sectors.
President Thompson said the Prime Minister's vision and statement on agriculture and livestock and rural business are well captured, with emphasis on increasing production, downstreaming processing and manufacturing and export that will be underpinned by Connect PNG. Law and order and specific interventions such as SME credit scheme and freight subsidy scheme must be coordinated and implemented across different industries and provinces instead of being scoped up in Port Moresby and Lae. He said the funding to DAL and the statutory agencies and commodity boards needs better public scrutiny and accountability for results, as the past 50 million kina to price support scheme and 24 million kina agriculture interventions disappeared without impact on the sector and the country. He said the Farmers and Settlers Association commends the Marape government for introducing the Non-Tax Revenue Administration Act that would task all department, agencies, and commodity boards and state-owned enterprise to justify their imposition of fees and charges. President Thompson said the government needs to place an oversight on the 4 ministries and their funding and task them to deliver results. Thompson added that Connect PNG must focus on critical roads like Lae Bulolo, Miniama Highway and Magi Highway towards Abua that has a vast land covered in rubber, coconut and cocoa, and ensuring that agriculture and industries should be encouraged along the Makam Ramu and Arona and Asaro valleys, which are well connected by road, electricity and communication. Sharon Engnui, National EMTV News.
Chief Executive Officer of the Women's Microbank, Unandi Des, is urging citizens to continue banking their money, which will help them build on their savings so as to bring prosperity to their lives going into 2023. Mr. Des made his following statement at the signing of the loan portfolio agreement with the UNCDF recently in Port Moresby.
Almost 80% of PNG's population are in the informal sector. Thus, lack of access to financial services remains a significant challenge in PNG, manifesting in the inability to obtain credit. Consequently, those people keen to begin a business are highly dependent on informal, personal and family sources of finance, which limit their potential to grow. A report has shown that 92% of the population lack access to financial services and banking facilities for savings, deposit and microfinance. On that note, CEO Mr. Das is urging citizens to continue banking practices.
Message to all my customer or all our customer and to the PNG population that let's do banking. You know, most of the time we feel that bank is actually not in the positive, conducive mindset to have the banking with them. But let's change that mindset. Come, do banking, you will feel the difference.
Mr. Dash added that most people have negative perceptions with banks and people need to change how they perceive things and look at the brighter side and start adopting a saving culture.
Talking to the customer rather than sitting in the aircon and creating a product. So I believe our product and services are very conducive, very demand-driven approach, and I would like to see that all the mamas and their families are going to have the banking with Mama Bank and create their prosperity by themselves.
Mr. Des said when people start doing banking, they are creating prosperity for themselves. Sharon Engnui, National EMTV News.
National EMTV News continues after the break. Stay with us. Welcome back to National EMTV News. Moving overseas now, flooding in the New South Wales far west is expected to surpass record levels. The Darling River has burst its banks and is expected to peak above 10.7 metres.
Is supposed to peak at 10.7 metres today, and that'll be the highest ever recorded peak of the river here in Menindee at least. So the SES there on the ground here, the RFS as well, they're working really hard. Originally they had planned to do sort of a slower rollout of people evacuating people from their homes, but over the course of yesterday the river actually came up quite a bit faster than previously predicted, and so they were forced to sort of expedite that process and really get people out faster than they had originally planned. We're looking at sort of 30 to 35 homes and businesses around low-lying areas of Menindee and as well as the Menindee township. Of course, that's probably about 10% of the total houses and things along those lines in Menindee. Unfortunately, though, for most locals, we were just with someone a second ago, but unfortunately for most locals, their levies are only built for that 1976 peak, which you sort of mentioned in your intro there. That was the peak ever, and that was still that was probably about 10.2 metres, 10.3 metres, and so that 10.7 that is predicted to arrive sometime today, it sort of shows that how significant it is and how it's never sort of happened before.
The Russian President Vladimir Putin has called for closer military ties with Beijing as Russia scrambles to find support for its war in Ukraine.
During a video meeting with Chinese President Xi Jinping, Mr. Putin stressed the importance of increasing military cooperation. While President Xi Jinping maintained Beijing's objective stance on Ukraine, Mr. Putin lauded the relationship with China and spoke about hosting a meeting with the Chinese leader next year.
In the coming year, intensive bilateral exchanges will continue. I have no doubt that we'll find an opportunity to meet with you in person. We're waiting for you, dear Mr. Chen, dear friend, next spring with a state visit to Moscow.
Police on the state of Pennsylvania have arrested a man in connection with the murders of 4 university students in Idaho.
Young women and a man were stabbed in their beds in the town of Moscow. Early on Friday morning, police arrested 28-year-old Brian Christopher Koberger at the neighbouring Chestnut Hill Township. The arrest of a suspect comes after police in the town appealed for public help to track down the killer.
These tragic murders took 4 young, vibrant lives from our community. Nothing we do can bring them back. The only thing that we can do in law enforcement to honor their memories that we know of is to bring this to a successful conclusion. This has been a very difficult time for the families, the university, the community, and the state of Idaho. However, it is also proven that communities come together in tough times.
This is not the end of this investigation. In fact, this is a new beginning. You all now know the name of the person who has been charged with these offenses. Please get that information out there. Please ask the public, anyone who knows about this individual, to come forward. Call the tip line. Report anything you know about him to help the investigators and eventually our office and the court system understand fully everything there is to know about not only the individual, but what happened and why.
Heightened tensions between Serbia and Kosovo are appearing to cool, with some border crossings reopening a day after Serbia revoked combat readiness of its troops.
Since early December, Serbs in northern Kosovo have exchanged fire with Kosovan police and erected roadblocks to seal off the state. The state is home to a Serb majority population, which they believe to be still part of Serbia.
Da ono što oni nazivaju svojom vojskom, svojim bezbednosnim snagama.
For the first time, we have guarantees from what Kosovo call their army, their security forces, that they cannot go to the north of Kosovo, not only without the consent of NATO, but also without the consent of the local Serbs and Serbia. We never had that until today.
National EMTV News continues after the break with Trukai Sports. Stay with us.
Trukai Sports.
Welcome to Trukai Sports. President for Hohola Off-Season Rugby League, Kambi Ingiman, says he is pleased to advise the general public as well as rugby league enthusiasts that a top team from Hohola Off-Season will take on the Vipers development team come early next year.
Come next year, 2023, one of the strongest team from Hohola Off-Season Rugby League will take on the Port Moresby Vipers development team. President Kambi Ingiman says not only will they take their top team to challenge the Vipers development team, but to use that tournament to identify potential talents that could be easily scouted into the development team.
So after round 10, we play a stage of origin, wet crash. So after the word crash, 1 week now, make him a best select side blow. All out season, blow blues na maroons, blow challenge him Port Moresby Vipers academic, blow all IP pack. So I'm first of its kind. I'm not so no second. So now at them after off season, planties are starting off season. No around the pathway or kind of thing. So now we put him crash of the words coming set blues and maroons, blow creating pathway, blow young mangi or play Kamantabe. At least get opportunity to play goal or select side kind of Vipers na. Imi promote him all go inside, push him all go through inside all Vipers na all big ball game.
Alluding to Kambi Ingiman, coach for Vipers development team Godfrey Luke, says with so much raw talents exposed through the suburban tournament, through this initiative players can be easily identified to make it into the development team as well as other top tier competitions in the country.
So we're trying to come down to this level and bring the game here to Hohola. That's why I've come across to approach Kambi as the president to have a game here with their select side. So we have a team already in place. Players selected from all of Moresby, also players from outside centers to come in and giving them the opportunity. So we're trying to have a showcase here and see if there's talent here in Hohola. We might get 2 or 3 players into our development squad for next year.
The tournament will take place once the off-season games conclude.
Meanwhile, President Kambi Ingiman said the tournament is now preparing to host its second round of the Blues and Maroons tournament. The tournament depicting the Australian version of the State of Origin. President Kambi Ingiman said top 2 teams from the tournament will go head-to-head in round 2, followed by the decider towards the end of January 2023.
Due to Governor's Cup, so we are completing round 8. And then this week, Governor's Cup, so we play rest now. Next week, we will continue round 9. So after round 10, we play a stage of origin, wet crash, no chorus, no fight, the referee or landsman. I think on that lab, Morota, Gero number all to go fight, but otherwise, all I am peaceful game, Morota all man, all 1 bell now. I think now I'm on the second A grade play staff, so we completing the game on them. Good play note. On that, big thank you, Honorable Governor Paus Pakop, Logo Pass, moving all our season, Governor's Cup, the support team. Now, on behalf of all our community, I meet a big thank you.
The NCD Governor's Cup is nearing its finals playoff. Bomana played its 2 washout games today, which were deferred to today due to wet weather conditions experienced within this week. As for the other three venues, their round-robin matches have already been summed up as of yesterday afternoon. EMTV's Trukai Sports visited Bomana today to get an update on each of the venue coordinators and the tournament director, Dogo Rarura.
The last venue to complete the NCD Governors Cup regular rounds competition is the Bomana Red Sea Oval. As all the other three venues currently staging the NCD Cup tournament have already completed their regular rounds competitions as of yesterday, the venue coordinators of each of the other venues visited Bomana today along with the tournament director to witness the washout games. Venue coordinator for Bomana Red Sea Oval, James Nokondi, gave a highlight of the games played at his venue throughout the past 4 days of the regular rounds.
We had to cancel the game. So these two teams, that's Vanu Dust vs Northern Reds 2, na D8 Mosquitoes, na ATS DC3. The one currently going on is Manu Dust, one time Northern Reds. They are playing now. This is the playoff to complete the playoffs for the tournament before we go into knockouts and semis.
Hohola venue coordinator Alex Keys, who was also there, presented a highlight of his venue's progress.
For Hola, we completed our games yesterday, which is Pool C, and 12 teams have taken part already.
Venue coordinator for Group D, Frank Kurum, also shared an update of the competitions from Geru Rugby Field.
Mogara games, mibla finishing lo high note. No arambla problem come up, no arambla crossfight. Ogara games mibla finish him good na. Mibla look lo all teams were mibla all barausim na karim golo. Finals lo knockouts na gosem. So far no arambla problem 1-1 or Lily Kuri.
Tournament director Dogo Rarura, in summarizing the highlights presented by each of the venue coordinators, said that the tournament should head into the finals early next year after the completion and the finalization of the ladder points.
After this game, there will be a second washout game played. But overall, for the round-robin games, we have completed at all the other three venues. And I would like to acknowledge the efforts and the contributions made by all match officials, the referees, and the marshals, including the cleaners, and the general public for the cooperation and behavior throughout the entire round-robin matches played over the past 4 days.
Meanwhile, the top two teams from each of the pools will head into the knockouts playoff. The venue and the dates of the finals is yet to be scheduled, and the NCD Cup Board Committee will hold a meeting to decide on these agendas. Lisa Puni, Trukai Sports.
Trukai Sports continues after the break. Stay with us.
Trukai Sports.
You're watching Trukai Sports. In overseas sports, and tributes continued to fly for Pele following his death at age 82.
Governing body FIFA has lowered their flags at the headquarters in Zurich in honour of the Brazilian football legend. Brazil has declared 3 days of mourning for the footballing great and announced that his wake will be held on January the 1st at the Santos Football Club. The regional government says it will name a new road complex after him called King Pele. Those paying tribute include soccer greats, including Lionel Messi and Neymar, and Manchester City coach Pep Guardiola.
I think Neymar said a great sentence that before number 10 it was just a number, and after him it became something like something special. Every player, a top player, wanna wear the number 10 in own team. So, what he has done for football is, is there and always will remain.
Cristiano Ronaldo has signed a 2.5-year deal with Al Nassr of Saudi Arabia, believed to be worth around $314 million.
Time Saudi Pro League champions described the signing as history in the making. The 37-year-old is a free agent after leaving Manchester United following a controversial interview in which he criticised the club Ronaldo had just over 7 months remaining on his just under $900,000 a week contract with United, but his immediate exit was mutually agreed.
The Geelong Cats were the champions of this year's AFL Grand Final after surprisingly dismantling the Sydney Swans.
Sydney Swans fans are talking about the AFL Grand Final. What a result it was for Geelong, their 10th title, 133-52 win over the Swans. A huge build-up. Both teams had a huge winning record heading in to the final, undefeated for such a long time. But in the end, in front of 100,000 fans of the MCG, they got it done in the end. Geelong deserved winners. It was.
And that ends Trukai Sports. The weather report is next. Stay with us.
Trukai Sports. Trukai Sports.
This weather update is proudly brought to you by MoniPlus. With you always.
Weather forecast for the next 24 hours. Southern region, Port Moresby and Kerema, cloudy periods with rain periods tonight. Daru, Alatau and Popondetta, afternoon showers and possible thunderstorm. In the Momase region, Ley, cloudy periods with evening rain drizzles. Medang, Wewak and Vanimo, few showers and possible thunderstorm. In the New Guinea Islands, Lorengau partly cloudy with a shower or two. Kavieng, Kokopo, Rabaul and Buka mostly fine. Kimbe, few showers and possible thunderstorm. In the Highlands region, Mount Hagen, Goroka and Kundiawa, evening rain showers and thunderstorm. Mendi and Wabeg, rain showers and possible thunderstorm. Waters of southern PNG Indonesian border through Torres Strait to Daru to Kiwai Islands to Kerema to Yule Island to Hood Point to Samarai and eastern Milne Bay Islands, seas 2 to 3 meters. Waters of western Milne Bay Islands to Cape Vogel to Ewan Gulf to Finchafen, seas 0.5 to 1.5 meters. Waters of Finchafen through Vitius Dampier Straits to CRC Long Islands, seas 0.5 to 1.5 meters. Waters of Long Island to Medang to Bogia to Wewak to Vanimo and northern PNG Indonesian border, seas 0.5 to 1.5 meters. Waters of Manus and its western group of islands, seas 0.5 to 1.5 meters. Waters of New Ireland to East New Britain and Bougainville, seas 0.5 to 1.5 meters. Waters of West New Britain, seas 0.5 to 1.5 meters. Ocean forecast, Coral Sea, seas rough west to northwest winds of 25 to 33 knots. Solomon Sea, seas slight to moderate northwest winds of 10 to 20 knots. Bismarck Sea, seas moderate northwest winds of 15 to 20 knots. And Pacific Ocean, seas slight to moderate northwest to northerly winds of 10 to 15 knots.
The weather update was proudly brought to you by MoniPlus. With you always.
And that wraps up the news, sports and weather for Saturday, the 31st of December, the last day of 2022. As we look forward to welcome 2023 in the next few hours. From the entire news team, we wish you a prosperous new year, 2023. Enjoy your New Year celebrations. Be safe. Bye for now.
This news program was proudly brought to you by Smart Start breakfast biscuits, and Gold Nuggets.